What is the New Deal, and why are its adherents coming to Michigan this week? Also coming to Michigan, the minds and builders of automation. How far can it go? And we'll meet the Teacher of the Year. Today is Sunday, May 14th, 2023, and this is Flashpoint. Hi, welcome to Flashpoint. A very happy Mother's Day, especially you, Betty Skillion in Orlando, Florida. Here's hoping it's a beautiful day. We've got a busy morning ahead here. We have been focusing a lot on the future of work, in-person workplaces, the skills necessary in the future talent pool, the innovations coming around mobility. Lately, a lot of conversation, of course, about artificial intelligence. About a week from now, the Automate Conference is going to arrive in Detroit, and in a way, robotics and automation was one of our first introductions into the power of AI. With the rise of robots that are more and more capable, where does it leave the average worker? We're going to talk about that a little later on this morning. This coming week, we've got a gathering of New Deal Democrats who are coming to Michigan. And the last Michigan election has Democrats across the country salivating. They took over the majority in the Capitol. They won the top 3 statewide posts. And the Michigan GOP is in such disarray that some frustrated Republicans like Dave Trott are now working to form a third political party. We're going to save that for next week. But for Democrats, does this New Deal resemble anything FDR would recognize? What does it mean to be a New Deal Democrat today? Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson will be here to talk about that. And we're also going to talk with the Michigan Teacher of the Year. For the first time in more than a decade, it's a Detroit teacher, and it's all ahead today on Flashpoint. Tomorrow, the New Deal Democrats will arrive in Detroit for a conference of plans and ideas. They do so with no shortage of pressing issues that seem to again and again divide us as a nation. Debt ceiling, immigration, the list goes on. One of the members of the New Deal is Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson. Secretary Benson, good to have you back on the program.
Great to be here.
When people hear about New Deal, I suppose those of us who've studied history, we can't help but think about what that meant many years ago. What is a New Deal Democrat today? What does it mean to you?
Well, one of the things it means is the fact that the New Deal of the past was about President Roosevelt bringing everyone together and saying we're all in this together. In the aftermath of World War II, we all have a role to play in rebuilding America. And in some ways, in the aftermath of COVID and in the tax of democracy, we all have a role to play in charting our course forward. So the New Deal program of today is really about what does that look like? What do those coalitions look like? What do the policies look like? Not from a partisan standpoint, but just getting things done, moving the ball forward, and ensuring that everyone is a part of the progress.
Do you see that unifying figure somewhere out there on the horizon? Last week we watched the CNN town hall that showed us the divisions remain as strong as they have been. We know how divided we are in Michigan between Democrats and Republicans, and then we'll talk about the Republican Party in a minute. But do you see that unifying figure out there? Because we seem to be headed to an election right now that nobody wants. Donald Trump against Joe Biden again.
I see hope for unification born through the fact that a lot of us are dealing with the same challenges and that we can define our solutions together. But we're really doing it in a noisy environment where politicians, instead of choosing a more unifying message of how do we recognize we're all connected and we have a responsibility to each other and for our communities, instead choosing to divide us rooted in lies and misinformation on one side, in my view, that has created more divisiveness and more anger than instead taking this moment to bring us together. So in my view, it's up to citizens to support leaders on both sides of the aisles who have a unifying message, who are about not just reaching across the aisle, but bringing us all together to propose solutions that we all can get behind for the things that we have in common.
I certainly would not want it to sound like the Democrats have become suddenly monolithic and you all believe in the same things. You've got divisions among in your own party too, especially those who maybe are further to the left, and I've been very frustrated by the fact that nobody seems to want to talk about universal health care anymore, things like that. How do you find your way forward and make everybody in your own party happy before we start worrying about the other one?
Well, I start it from the standpoint of my job as I'm a pro-democracy leader. I believe that every voice needs to be heard. My parents were special education teachers, so I also come from the perspective of we need to have everyone at the table and develop solutions together, listening to each other, respecting each other's differing positions, and then charting a path forward. So in my view, our baseline is we stand up for everyone's fundamental rights and freedoms. We stand up to make sure that people are included and people are safe and that our democracy is secure. And I think if we start from that baseline, we can find commonalities. But yes, even among my great colleagues, the Attorney General, the Governor, and I, we are a team, we are aligned, but we also disagree sometimes. And that's part of what politics is, listening to each other and trying to compromise and bring a path forward together.
Democrats are accused of not having an answer for a lot of things right now. I mean, everybody knows we have a terrible situation at the southern border. Democrats love to talk about common sense immigration policy, but I never hear it spelled out. What does that mean? What do we do?
Well, I think we have to, again, take our principles and put them into action. So we believe in inclusion. We believe in welcoming people. In Michigan, we want it to be a state where everyone feels safe and welcome. And at the same time, we need to look seriously about how to protect the security of our nation and our state. And yet we too often have kind of discussions that are not rooted in those principles and data and charting a path forward, but are sort of rooted in different camps and hyper-partisan language, and in many ways misinformation, and in some ways even racism, driving fears towards an other that we want to keep out or keep in. And so we have to kind of take all that off the table and instead just talk facts and practicality. And I think there are a lot of elected officials around the country on both sides of the aisle who do want to have that conversation, but in some ways the noise of many who don't want to have that conversation overwhelms the dialogue.
Let's zoom in on Michigan here a little bit. We've talked a lot on this program about, I know a number of Democrats who don't think it's really healthy to have a dysfunctional Republican Party.
Yeah.
That everybody deserves and that we're all served by good, robust competition of ideas. And I'm curious about what your thoughts are right now, given that the leader of that party was your former opponent in the last election.
Oh, I believe in ideas, and I believe that no one party has a monopoly on all the best ideas, and instead we can come up with solutions together, but we need to all be on the same set of ideas and facts. And too often when we see leaders, even leaders of a party right now, choosing to weigh in on misinformation and lean in on trying to manipulate even what the truth is in a way to further a political agenda, then we have a concern, I think, about enabling us to actually come to commonality together. So, but I believe, again, we need to make sure every voice is heard, every perspective is at the table. We can only do that if we have a robust democracy that welcomes multiple voices and multiple parties.
Well, there's only so much that any side can do in Lansing, because for however you feel about the Republican Party right now, the margins in Lansing remain very thin. But I think some people are concerned that Democrats are looking at a Republican Party that's not particularly strong in the state right now and just thinking this is a party we can do whatever we want.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, and I certainly don't feel that way. Again, our responsibility as leaders is to talk with individuals, identify what people in Michigan all across the state, from the west side to the east side to up north and the UP, care about, and then fight for that. And what are we hearing people care about? People want their fundamental rights and freedoms protected. People want their reproductive health and freedom protected. People want to be able to be safe, whether we're in school or at the mall or camping. We want to be able to feel like we're at the movies, that we're safe. And so a lot of the policies you're seeing are about keeping people safe, addressing the gun violence epidemic in our state and our nation, and making sure that we can send our kids to school and know that they'll come home safe.
That's Michigan. We know Michigan made clear its stances on a number of things, including abortion rights in the last election. But if we zoom out, how transferable is that nationally? We have a lot of states that feel just as adamant about restricting abortion rights as Michiganders seem to about expanding them.
You know, I think there's a lot of states where maybe their leaders feel that way, but I don't think the people feel that way. And Kansas is an example of that, where we saw how when people speak out, they will stand overwhelmingly in support of their own reproductive freedoms and choices and rights. And so in Michigan, what we really do is just listening to people and enacting policies that reflect what the will is. And in my view, my job is really just to make sure the will of the people is protected through the policy arena and through the election election arena, and that's what we're doing. The other thing I'll add is Michigan very much is a microcosm for the country, both our demographics and the state, and I think that's why you see the spotlight on our state so much election season and elsewhere. A lot of what we do does reverberate throughout the country and gives us an opportunity to set an example.
The states that are purple seem to want to feel that they're microcosms, and I guess there's an argument right now about just how purple Michigan is. But the last thing I needed to ask you, rather than the disputes over the 2020 election and claims of fraud and that it was a phony election going away, clearly the president, former President Trump, has decided to amplify his faith in that. So have many of the leaders right now in the Michigan Republican Party. You're going to have to fight this. You're going to have to continue to fight a dragon that I think you thought you slayed.
We thought we slayed until we saw the images coming out of our U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. And in that moment, I realized
the President called that a beautiful day.
Yeah,
the other
well,
day.
for many of us, it was a tragic day for our nation and a tragic day for our democracy. And in the years since, in the days after that even, I realized we should not assume that it's ever over. And instead, we need to buckle down and prepare for a multi-year, multi-state, multifaceted effort against our democracy. That's indeed what has played out. But we are ready and more prepared than we were even in 2020 to ensure our democracy prevails yet again.
Really curious to hear what comes out of this conference over the next couple of days. Jocelyn Benson, thanks so much for being here as always.
Thanks for having me.
Secretary of State of the State of Michigan. We come back, we'll talk with the Michigan Teacher of the Year. This is Flashpoint on Local 4.
It's nice to be able to call and get quick response.
As it benefited to me and my family, I recommend to everyone. It's available 24/7.
They really do care about your well-being.
Hey guys, want to be a member of DFCU Financial? Live, work, or go to school here? Then yeah, you can join.
You know, if you have one of these, then you can use Anywhere Banking from DFCU Financial. They have all the tech you need. My credit union gives me cash back on all of my accounts, even my loans. Run, don't walk to DFCU Financial.
Watson's, one of the nation's largest home recreational products retailers, is celebrating its grand opening in Detroit. Save up to 50% on outdoor furniture, jacuzzi spas, above-ground pools, pool tables, and more. Plus, get interest-free financing until October 2024, only at Watson's.
Welcome to the home of Blackjack, with the largest library of blackjack games in the industry. Spanish 21, Live Dealer, Vacation Blackjack, and more. New players can download the DraftKings Casino app, use the promo code, and get a deposit match up to $100 in casino credits.
I love that healthcare is at my fingertips at any time.
I don't have to take time off from school. I recommend to everyone.
As a student of WCCCD, this is a great benefit to have. It works on your schedule.
He stopped to help at the scene of an accident, and seconds later, his life changed forever. But Sean English never gave up.
I'm going to show them all the things I can do.
His story of resilience in the face of the unimaginable.
Next challenge, it's the next one up. I love challenges.
And the lesson we can all learn from his journey. Unstoppable, the Sean English story. Monday at 5:45 on Local 4 News and streaming on Local 4 Plus.
Welcome back. Each year, the Michigan Department of Education recognizes the best teacher in the state. And this year, for the first time since 2007, it is a teacher from Detroit. Candace Jackson teaches 3rd grade at Mann Learning Academy in Detroit, a DPSCD school. And I'm so happy to have Candace with us today. Congratulations. What an honor.
Thank you so much.
One of the things that's funny, we were just talking, you end up getting to be Teacher of the Year, and the first thing you find out is over the next year, you're not going to do as much teaching because they're going to have you going to, it's a little bit like all the duties that Miss America has. You know, you've got a lot to do here now, don't you?
Yeah, that's exactly how I describe it. There's a lot of media, a lot of traveling. It's going to be a fun year, but it's been a whirlwind already. I've had, you know, interview after interview, so. I don't know, maybe my 15 minutes of fame.
Oh, I think teachers deserve a lot more than 15, the really good ones. Tell me a little bit about the level of, it sounds like you were fairly surprised that this was you.
Well, the whole process has been humbling and surprising. From the nomination back in the fall, I was surprised with that. And then each step of the way, because it started with the Detroit Teacher of the Year, and then the Regional Teacher of the Year, and then the State of Michigan Teacher of the Year. And, you know, you're hopeful, but you really, you know, there's 85,000 teachers in Michigan, so who would have thought it would be you or me? So that's cool.
I love, and I know this is, you know, for somebody who writes for children, third grade is where you start to make the turn from kind of goofing around to getting excited a little bit about learning and having a little bit more sophisticated way of thinking. Do you feel like that's because that's where you teach is third grade? Is that sort of the sweet spot of an elementary school, or am I just inventing that in my head?
When you were talking, I was thinking in my head, you know, it is the sweet spot because they're old enough to be able to work independently. You can give them higher level work. They can do it, but they still have like a zeal for learning. They want to learn. They're excited to learn. They still love their teacher. They haven't gotten a too cool for school attitude. So it's the perfect age.
That really is great. Give me a little bit of your take on what you think it takes to be a really good teacher in this day and age. You've got all kinds of headwinds against you, especially coming out of the pandemic. What does it take to really break through and make a difference in a child's life now?
Well, I think since the pandemic, the main ideal for all teachers and educators, and even the children, I think the main ideal is being flexible and being resilient, because the way we taught before is completely different. We all had to learn how to work online, and now that we're back, you have children who are coming in with all different learning levels. Like my third graders, they haven't had an uninterrupted year since kindergarten, so they're coming in with all different amounts of learning. Some of them haven't been to school since kindergarten, some of them had some amount of learning, and then some of them haven't missed a beat if their parents were really on them and they were virtual every day. So you have such a wider range of learning abilities. So coming in has really been about small group instruction. And I think to some degree, all teachers did small group instruction before the pandemic, but now there's no other way to do it because, you know, there's some kids here, there's some kids here, they're all over the place.
There's no getting around the fact that we backslid, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how do we overcome that, do you suppose?
I think hard work, dedication, and like I said, a lot of small group instruction and meeting the kids where they are. You can't just have a one-size-fits-all model. You can't go in where before some teachers might have went in and said, okay, this is my lesson, I'm going to teach it, and if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. Well, you have to go in knowing that a lot of them are not going to get it, because you may have a third grader on a kindergarten level, you might have a third grader on a first grade level, and if you're lucky, you have a couple that are on grade level after the pandemic. So
this recent spate has just magnified the differences in the way they weren't there before. I'm curious, I'll let you criticize my own business and industry here a little bit. What you read in the papers, what you see on television, what we read about test scores, there's so much hand-wringing about, you know, that suggests that, especially and in Michigan, we've fallen way down from where we once were in our national rankings. Does it feel as bad to you in the schools as what you read or see?
Well, I was reading recently, I think maybe like 60% of the general public may think that public education is not where they want it to be. Most of them, about half of them, think that we're trending in the right direction. I would tend to say that we are trending in the right direction. I see a lot more, like I said, the push for small group instruction is huge. Also the curriculum choice. I know in Detroit we have adopted, well, we adopted just before the pandemic, but we got these new curriculums that are much more hands-on versus the way you or I might have been taught, which was rote memorization and, you know, procedural lessons, and now everything is more hands-on and more conceptual. And it's been a challenge for the parents because that's not the way they were taught, but I think that it's doing wonders for the kids. I think that they're really internalizing it.
Well, that's good to hear. And it's clearly working for you because you are Michigan's Teacher of the Year. Candace, it is really good to meet you and good to talk to you, and I appreciate your dedication to what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We come back, we're going to talk about automation. So taking jobs or creating them. This is Flashpoint on Local 4.
our Memorial Day sale, Gardner White will do what no one has ever done before. Put the best furniture in the world on sale. So now you can afford the best, like the Century Cornerstone Sectional for 50% off. That's a real half off. Or buy a Bernhardt bedroom or dining room for up to 50% off. Or bring Vanguard home for as little as $1 a day with 0% financing for 60 months. And as always, it's in stock. Plus, we deliver and set up the same day for free. Gardner White, the best for less.
The funny thing about change is, it's never around when you want it. And you really want it when you have an instant game from the Michigan Lottery. With so many to choose from and millions in cash prizes, a little play can make your day. Play large, win large. The new instant games with top prizes up to $2 million and over $179 million in total prizes.
My reputation. Interesting question. Okay, so there's good and bad. My reputation, many times I show up and people run. So, I don't know. But normally there's a good reason. If they're running, they probably did something wrong, right? I think I have a reputation of she's going to hold you accountable. So many times people are afraid to ask questions or go to someone up above them and say, hey, this is wrong. And I'm more than happy to do that. My reputation is I'm going to fight for you. So I'm proud of that.
Welcome back. As I mentioned earlier, this week it's the New Deal holding their meeting in Detroit. The following week, Huntington Place will play host to Automate. 25,000 attendees strong, most likely, to talk about automation. For years, we've argued over whether automation was a job killer or a job creator. Let's get caught up with Jeff Bernstein. He is the president of the Association for Advancing Automation, and Claude Molinari is the president and CEO of Visit Detroit. Gentlemen, thanks very much for the time. Jeff, let me start with you. This has grown to be a massive conference. 25,000 people or so coming. Yep. This has gotten really, really big.
It really has. Coming to Detroit was a great move for us. It's become the largest North American robotics and automation show ever held this year.
And when we think about what automation first meant many, many years ago and where we've arrived today, it's kind of stunning. If for those who don't spend a whole lot of time in the average manufacturing plant like you do, I imagine it's mind-boggling to anybody who isn't aware of what automation means today.
It really is, because it started out as just in factories. But now automation is spreading everywhere. Every industry is looking to automate: agriculture, construction, pharmaceutical. This is a really exciting time to be in automation.
And now we add AI in there. And I suppose, I mean, we got a lot of people who are very worried about what all that does, and this very potent combination of technology with AI behind it now. Should I be worried?
Well, I wouldn't be too worried, and I'll tell you why. We've been hearing about robots and AI being job killers for 4 decades that I've been in this. It started out that way, too. They're really meant to be tools to help us not only do our jobs better, but to help society, to tackle the most difficult challenges: hunger, affordable housing, climate change. Robots and AI can help in those areas. Is there a risk that AI becomes smarter than people? That we have to put safeguards on.
Sure, but we have far fewer manufacturing jobs in America than we used to. Isn't some of that, at least some of that, due to automation and the fact that it's just so much more efficient?
I would argue that we would have had a lot more jobs if we hadn't shipped them all to China to do manufacturing. That, to me, was the biggest change. Right now, why are we bringing manufacturing jobs back? It's because of automation. It enables our ability to compete globally, and we're seeing record numbers of manufacturing jobs brought back to the U.S.
Claude, I say 25,000 people for a convention. This is obviously your sweet spot. That's a big one, and this is exactly the kind of things that you've been working to attract.
You know, having one of the world's largest robotics shows held in Detroit is a legitimizer of our destination as a meetings and convention and trade show destination. So for us, it's really important having a great event like this here. It really shows that Detroit is on the map.
In fact, I was talking with Antoine Bryant a couple weeks ago, and he was telling me that we are having a little more success. I guess I'll use the word steal, snipe, borrow, dissuade events from going elsewhere, and Detroit's on the map in the way that it hasn't been before. I suppose it helps in the summertime. It's even better, right?
No doubt.
But give me a little bit of taking the temperature of Detroit's position in that world right now.
Well, the perception of our city and our region, frankly, has changed dramatically. And we've got some of the largest show management companies in the world that are choosing Detroit. We've got international, European show management firms that are saying, we're missing out on something. We got to get to the city. This is a place that's happening. And again, with our great facilities and with, so much going on with construction, we have a bunch of new hotels being built up. That's going to make us even more attractive. And the more we get, the more we build up that FOMO, people start thinking like, hey, I'm missing out. I got to bring my event to Detroit. And we see a very bright future.
Jeff, Claude has to think about things in terms of, where's the hotel space, how we do with restaurants, things to do. You're looking for the proper climate for this, the proper space for this to be in. Why is Michigan better? Or, Silicon Valley. There's a lot of other places that are kind of thriving on the power of automation. Does Detroit just make that much more sense than every place else right now?
Well, different customer bases. So Detroit has the automotive industry and all their suppliers. That's the largest user of robotics in the world. Still. And so Detroit's a great place. All the major robot companies have North American headquarters here, FANUC, ABB, and others based in the Detroit area. So it's a great area. This doesn't mean that Chicago and other cities aren't great areas too. The point is, Detroit is excellent.
Yeah, and we had the news last week of the hydrogen announcement with this big plant that's coming to the Detroit area, which again I think put us back on the focus of sometimes we lose track of where we are and how important we are and integral we are in the innovation space. It's nice to hear. Lastly, Claude, give me a little bit of an outlay here as we make the turn into summer. A lot of big events. The auto show, we expect to kind of be back full-throated in a way now that it hasn't been able to before, correct? Coming up in the fall,
no doubt.
Early fall?
Yeah, early September show. And I think that, Southeast Michigan, state of Michigan, city of Detroit, we're putting our stake in the ground that we're going to be the headquarters for the world for automation, autonomous vehicles, and electrification. And I think the auto show, Automate, a lot of these shows, they're pushing forward that narrative that we are going to be that place, and I think that it's going to be a great year for us.
It's critical. Jeff, good luck with the conference.
Thank you so much.
It's very exciting to watch, and Claude, always good to see you too. Thanks so much for being here, and thank you for being here as well. I hope you have a great week. Meet the Press coming up next. We'll see you next time right back here for Flashpoint.